And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thomson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
All right, well, let's go. Stand back, pat yourself on the back. You made it through 2023, and we are on our way to 2024, and we're going to talk about what the man, the myth, the legend, the real Punk, what Josh Thomson and I picked as our 2023 MVP awards. We're talking male fighter of the year, female fighter of the year, fight of the year, sub of the year, KO of the year, all those things. My man, are you ready? Do you have your list? Because you got obliterated when it came to the different matchups.
No,
so let's see how you do. Let's see how you do in this one.
Look, it's only, there's about 400 people that have put in their stuff that we put in their votes on the Alyssa Pacheco and Kayla Harrison to fight Chris Cyborg. Which one? So far right now, Kayla Harrison is ahead.
By what?
By 88% or something like that.
That means 12% of the people agree with you.
12% of the people. But look, the fight, my objective was the fight is the better fight is Cyborg versus Pacheco.
Quit trying
the stand-up
to make
fight.
excuses.
Whatever. Look, you know what though? It's only been a day. There's more votes coming in. It hasn't been a full day yet. More votes coming in. By the end of this thing, I think Larissa Pacheco is going to be on top.
Oh, it's been a day.
Well, you know, the best votes, yes. The best votes are yet to come. They're going to come in. They're going to hit in the comment section. The better fight to watch will be Larissa Pacheco versus Chris Cyborg. Anyways,
I'm going to ask this in this just straight out honest fashion.
John, you got
bullshit.
crushed. By the way, that was one fight that maybe you won.
You are actually
John,
honest about things.
No, I lie to myself all the time in the mirror.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Jeez. I can actually look myself in the eye and lie to myself. I think it's great. You've got to have that capability.
I can look myself in the eye and lie to myself. I'm going to have a heart attack. I love it.
John, where would this show be without comments like this?
You are special.
Yeah, a little short yellow bus special.
Short yellow bus special.
This is great. Happy holidays, everyone. I want to thank you guys so much for continuing to support the Weighing In podcast. 2023, guess what? This is a wrap. We're going to wrap this up with our Weighing In MMA awards. And we want to thank you guys so much for continuing to support us. And go to weighingInmerch.com and pick up some of our hoodies, our sweaters, our t-shirts, anything that's available there on our weighingInmerch.com. Thank you guys. You guys are great, man. You guys have been great for us for the last years. Some of you guys have been with us since day one. Some of you guys have been listening to me when I had the old show that we changed over when John and I joined together and started doing this show. And then you guys exploded during COVID and started following us and listening to us. And I don't want you guys thinking that we forgot that. We want to thank you guys. You guys have been amazing.
The best of fans, the best.
Yeah, I read the comments.
Our listeners are awesome.
I read the comments not because I want to read all the negative stuff about me. Do you think I like that? Nah, but you know what though? I still do. I read it because there's a lot of times where you guys have great ideas. And this is something that John and I have been kind of talking about doing. We did it kind of, I would say, we did it last year, but it wasn't like we didn't put a lot of thought. It was like right off the top of our head. Yeah. This time we talked about it for about 2 weeks. And then we finally were like, look, okay, let's put together a list. And we didn't pick many. We want to just do like the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So we did 6 of them. We did KO of the year, sub of the year, breakout fighter of the year, male fighter of the year, female fighter of the year, and fight of the year. That's what we did. We may expand on this because there was a couple other ones that I wanted to talk about too.
Clothing line of the year.
Yeah,
never mind. We didn't do that shit.
But we're gonna go ahead and get started on this. This is our Weighing In MMA awards for 2023. Let's go. Which one do you want to start with first?
Nicely done. Well, I think my man Dave is the one who's going to lead. He's going to drive this bus.
Okay.
And so my man Dave has already put up what is your pick for fight of the year and what is my pick for fight of the year. So I will let you go with your pick for the 2023 fight of the year.
I went with Brent Permis versus Monster Urbano Wheat as fight of the year. I was down cage side watching this fight, calling this fight side by side with you. This was a great, great fight. Back and forth. I have a lot of love for the ferret thing back and forth. Two ferrets getting after it, scrambling. You can look, most fights that are the best fights of the year or ends up being fight of the year is they aren't the ones that are the best, most technical fights. We saw that again with Yuri and Glover. We saw that with, other fights that have happened throughout the years. They're never the best. They're never the most technical fights. In this fight, there's a lot of technique involved, but it was very sloppy as they got tired. And this was a 5-round fight. There was a lot of pressure on both of these guys. It was the opening fight for the lightweight World Grand Prix in Bellator. I admired a lot of what they did. They went out there and laid it on the line. Mansour Barnaoui, just fantastic. The body style of which he fights is tall, long, and lanky, relatively unknown. He had fought Adam Piccolotti and subbed Adam Piccolotti, and he made it look easy. Then he's fighting someone like Brent Primus in the first round of the lightweight World Grand Prix against a former champion. He had been gone for how many years, John? How many years had Mansour Barnaoui not really fought outside of the Adam Piccolotti fight? 3-4 years?
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. So for him to come back and then beat Adam Piccolotti and then get into the lightweight World Grand Prix with just one fight and then to fight a former champion in Brent Primus came up short. But man, it was a fight. Vicious elbows, big shots, great grappling exchanges, back control, 5 rounds in the lightweight World Grand Prix. A lot of pressure to move on. The tension was there. Great fight. It was in Paris. Just a fantastic fight. And the crowd was behind Mansour Barnaoui, and Brent Primus went over there with the big upset. It just said a lot about both of these fighters. And being cage side, it had an effect on why I chose this fight. Had I been at home watching on TV, maybe it'd been different. Had I been in the crowd, maybe it'd been different. Who knows? Because there were some other fights on here that I had listed also. But, I won't get into those because we got to stay on track. But, I could have given it to Turner versus Hooker. And now that I've seen your fight, and I could have given it to Brennan Ward versus Hamasi. I could have given it to one of those other fights. I really love the Turner and Hooker fight. And I thought the finish of the Hamasi and Brennan Ward fight, fantastic. But I gave it the back and forth. What was on the line during this fight was the next step to get into that $1 million or to get to the semifinals of the $1 million lightweight World Grand Prix meant a lot to these fighters. And so that's why I gave it to this fight.
I'm going to say, I love your fight. It's a great fight. It had the elements that made this fight great were both guys were known for having really good ground games in different ways. But Brent Primus has got a phenomenal ground game. And when he got swept by Barnaoui early in the fight, you could see it in his face like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. He just did that to me. And then there was a moment he came right back and he reversed Barnaoui, and Barnaoui was in that position of holy shit. How did he just do that? I had him. And it happened multiple times throughout. And the thing that makes this one of those fights where you can sit there and look and say, yeah, it was a barn burner. It was one of those fights. Both guys, at a certain point, you looked at him, you thought he's done. Mm-hmm. He's out of here. And Barnaoui was in some incredibly tight submissions where he could have just said, I'm done, and gotten himself out. Never stopped, never gave up. Brent Primus bit down on his mouthpiece, gave the best performance that I've ever seen him give in a fight. It was a back and forth struggle for the 5 rounds. It was a phenomenal fight. I love your pick for it, but it comes up just a little short in where I think the fight had to go compared to what the reason I gave mine to. I gave it to Shavkat Rakhmonov against Jeff Neal. And if you go back and watch that fight, my God, they fucking threw. Mm-hmm. They were just absolutely throwing caution to the wind, going after each other. Big shots landed, both guys getting hurt. Shavkat had that, incredible record and finished every one of his fights. And all of a sudden he's in there with Jeff Neal, and Jeff Neal is just standing toe to toe with him, and they're going. And then it has an incredible 3rd round finish by Shavkat with a standing choke. Just everything about that fight. There's a lot of fights out there that people looked at and said, oh, this was a better fight. Islam against Volkanovski, the first one. good fight. I'm not saying it, but it was lacking in a lot of areas, in my opinion. So, I always look for the fights that have those moments where you look at the fighters, and both of them, and your fight has this, and my fight has it. Both fighters have that moment of, holy shit.
Yeah.
I haven't been hit like that. Oh my God, I'm losing. Oh my God, should I just get out of here? And neither guy does it. And they just continue on. And, finally with the Jeff Neal, he was getting choked. He's going to go, it's a tap or fucking nap. So just an incredible matchup by those guys. I loved that Rachmanov versus Neal fight. It says everything about both of those guys as fighters, but yours is a great choice. I love it.
Yeah. I look with the Shavkat fight. When I look at this fight, this was a fight that showed me a lot about Shavkat. Would he be able to withstand somebody like a Jeff Neal, somebody with a name, somebody where the bright lights were on him and going like, okay, do I wilt or do I push through? This was that breakout fight.
Yep, absolutely.
I thought that they had fought at such a pace that the submission by him was, I didn't look at it as a very good submission. It was exhaustion. It was exhaustion.
Exactly.
But because they left it in there, that's what makes this
That's why it is what it is. Yep.
That's exactly. You know what, John? I got to be honest. I'm actually very glad that you went a different way, because you went not a fight that everyone was talking about.
Yep.
Because that's kind of where I was at. I was like, look, there was so many good fights to pick from. I was like, man, I hope we don't just go with just, the standard of what everyone else would go with. There are some things that I'm going to talk. There are some fights that, some fighters and fights that we put in here probably that we're going to agree with the MMA awards on. But I wanted to make sure that what we do is we cover the sport. This is not the UFC awards. No. This is the MMA awards for weighing in. Absolutely. And I think that's what kind of separates our page, our podcast away from the other podcasts. A lot of them just talk what the MMA, the UFC. And I'm not knocking them. Okay. I obviously I believe all their fighters are fantastic. All of them, every single one of them. You get signed. It was one of my most proudest days was to get signed by the UFC. Absolutely. One of the highlights of my career was to get signed by the UFC. I just want to make sure that the fighters, all of them that are out there laying on the line. This was a great fight because Shavkat showed that he could bite down on his mouthpiece, get after it. He also showed that when the wrestling wasn't as easy as he thought, that he would stand and trade. He also showed that he's willing to take chances and do certain things at certain times. This was absolutely a great fight. I actually, to be honest, didn't even have it on my radar. Okay. And then, as I went back and I was thinking about it, I'm like, damn, this is great fight. Great fight.
And I'll be honest. I looked at the Sabah Homasi versus Brendan Ward fight, and I was like, God damn, that's one of those. It was so tension packed, so much going on. Both guys getting, hurt, and just an incredible fight. And it was like, I just don't know. It probably didn't go long enough, but it could have been that fight. I
look at fight of the years. I have a hard time giving it to a
short fight,
to short finishes. Look,
me too.
You could honestly say the Nick Diaz and Paul Daly fight is probably the fight of the decade, but it all happened in the first round.
Yep.
So it's hard to say because it didn't go long enough.
Exactly.
That's the one thing against fight of the year is that you usually want to see a knockdown, drag out.
Yeah.
The way Lee and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, those are the fights that you want to see in a fight of the year type candidate.
And it's not that you don't see heart and a display of courage and everything in the short fight, because in the Diaz versus Daly, you did. In the Homasi versus Ward, you did. But it takes time for those things to occur in a fight, for those special moments where all of a sudden you're watching them and you see them mentally just dig deep and take a step forward when most people in the human race would be taking a step backwards. And that's what makes them special.
Absolutely. I'm glad that we decided to stray off track a little bit and not just go towards,
because I don't know any of your picks.
Well, I don't know any of yours.
And you don't, I know.
That's what's going to make this fun. Look, it was easy. It would have been easy for me to say the Islam and the Volk thing also, because Islam's my boy and the Volk, but it just wasn't. Look, there was controversy surrounding it, but I didn't see what the controversy was. Islam clearly won the fight. Yeah. And as
Volkanovski won the 5th round, and that's what made it what it was.
Yeah.
If Volkanovski would have won the 4th round and then Islam came back, there would have been no question in the 5th. people wouldn't have said, but it was because it was the 5th round. And it's like,
Yeah.
what would have happened if there was a 6th round?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. There is no 6th round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't live my life in what ifs. All right. Now we're gonna go. What's the next one?
No, we got a pick here. We got
we're gonna pick
winner here.
What's this
Yeah.
week?
Well, you know what? Hold on. I think what we need to do.
Why don't we
pick?
let them vote in the comments, or why don't we put up a poll?
There you go.
Let's put up a poll. And just so we're clear, what we're gonna do is the winner of these of the polls, we're gonna be off.
More work for Dave.
More work for Dave. We're gonna send off some gear, some Wayne in gear.
Sorry,
to them.
Dave.
I would like to send off some. Well, maybe one year we'll have our own trophies. We'll do our own little trophies. But yeah, and we want to see who you guys think, the Shavkat versus Jeff Neal fight, or the Brent Primus and Monsieur Barnaoui fight. You guys will have to look these fights up and take a look and see which fight you think was better for fight of the year. Not other fights outside. Don't think of it that way. And for those of you guys that are UFC biased, don't just go, oh, well, Shavkat. Okay?
No.
Don't just watch the fights.
Yeah, if you haven't watched them, first off, you're doing yourself a favor in watching both of these. So this is what MMA is all about in both of them. So
great fights.
Great fight.
And like I said, my selection was more based on not more based on it, but it was also because I was cage side. I was calling the fight. I was with you. We were excited about, holy crap, this is what's going on.
It was incredible.
The elbows by Barnaoui standing on the feet were just insane. Rocking Brent Primus several times. Just a great fight all the way around, on the feet, on the ground, is where I had it. Jeff Neal and the Shavkat fight, great fight, bit down on the mouthpiece. It was a coming out party for Shavkat. So my feelings won't get hurt if you guys don't vote for the Primus and
either way
and Barnaoui fight, but great stuff. All right, and next one is.
All right, we're gonna get into for the next one, knockout of the year.
Oh,
I'll bring pictures.
See, this one was tough for me.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
I'll explain why. Well, he's got to bring up.
Okay.
I don't want to go past podcast Dave and his stuff, but there were multiples. If you're going to look at big time knockouts that you go, man, that was special. Israel Adesanya had his knockout over Alex, where look, that's big time, and that's big time in the fact that you had already lost to this man in MMA. You had lost to him several times in kickboxing, and you come back and you have that knockout performance. But this knockout that I'm going to talk about is Josh Emmett recently knocked out Bryce Mitchell. And what a knockout. I mean, you talk about instantaneous, the fight is over. There was nothing more, there was Josh Emmett, kind of yelling, down at Bryce Mitchell, but Bryce Mitchell was out. He was hurt badly by the shot. One punch, explosive. Same thing for Izzy. And normally I would give it to Izzy because that was a championship fight, but it was just what you saw as far as the physical reaction and the posturing and what was occurring with Bryce Mitchell just said how devastating the knockout was. So mine goes to Josh Emmett over Bryce Mitchell.
Okay, so I weighed in on
that's why we're called weighing in.
Yeah, I weighed in on the fact that there was a lot at stake. And so I went the Alex Pereira way versus
Then you would have gone Izzy.
I went Alex Pereira because he went up in weight class and fighting somebody. Yeah. And that to me was a little bit more significant than him fighting somebody at his normal weight class at 185 and losing to Izzy, who he's already beaten how many times. Like, there was nothing really left for him to fight in Izzy. Like, to me, there was a lot more for Izzy to get that win. I get it. And that's why it was so spectacular. But you're also fighting a guy who's beat you 3 times. He's knocked you out twice. It just didn't. I don't see the excitement out of it. Like, it was more for Izzy and not like Alex was doing it because the UFC pushed him in that direction.
Sure.
Then he goes up to 205 and knocks out Yuri and wins the title. He also, when I look at Alex, what is he? 7 or 8 fights into his career in MMA. He's got 2 belts.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. Now, If you want to go with the most vicious knockout, like you did, then I have to go Levon Chokley versus Homasi. That
Big
fight, that push kick right up the middle, and just devastation. I mean, he was out before he hit the ground. That was one of the most vicious knockouts I've ever seen.
Yeah,
He had to stay in the UK for like another.
I actually forgot about that one.
Yeah, he actually 2.5, 3 weeks he had to stay.
Yeah.
He had to stay. He actually flew his girlfriend or his wife or his girlfriend out there. Yeah, to stay with him for 2 weeks because he was stuck in the. He couldn't leave. That was a nasty, nasty KO. If you guys haven't checked that out, it was Levon Chokley versus Sabah Homasi. Nasty. But I looked at what was on the line. There wasn't nothing on the line for Pereira when he fought Izzy. That's why I didn't give it to that fight. I thought it was great for Izzy to get that one win that's been haunting him against Alex.
But you can't say there was nothing on the line. That was a championship.
Look, it's hard, John. You know what's hard to get motivated to beat the same guy.
You can't say there's nothing on the line.
It's hard to get motivated to beat the same guy 4 times.
I can understand you saying the motivation behind Alex was not the same as it could have been. I understand that. But there was something on the line.
There was, but it wasn't. Look, it was one-sided, though.
Okay.
It was one side. Alex I beat this guy 3 times. This will be my 4th. It's just not there. Okay. So I didn't see that. With the Yuri thing, Yuri coming back after an injury, Alex going up to 205. He's already a monster, at the 185. Now he's actually fighting where he kind of should be, maybe even heavyweight. It's like he's in that range. And then to go out there and do what he did against Yuri, and so many people kind of were given Yuri can wrestle him, Yuri can do this, Yuri can do that. And Alex just with this stoic look on his face, like, we'll see. He goes out there and gets it done. I thought so much pressure fighting up a weight class and he normally fights. I thought that was knockout of the year.
All right.
Yeah. So guys, in the poll that's down below, you guys please leave your results on which you think is the
which one.
Let me just chime in there because you guys threw me a curveball, which is not uncommon. But so these polls are going up. These polls are going up days before this podcast comes out. So just as an FYI, and then John and Josh won't know who the fans pick until they see it on the playback here, which will be on Sunday.
That. Nice job, Dave.
31st. Okay. So you guys don't need to watch it back to see what the fans voted. Obviously you can go in and you can look on YouTube on the community section, but I just said keep the surprise. But so anyway, so you guys have already voted, and you guys will see the winner on screen as John and Josh are talking about it.
Got it.
If you're an audio listener, then I'm sorry, John and Josh.
No, just head over to our YouTube. Head over to our YouTube and vote. That's how it works. If you're an audio listener, head over to our YouTube channel and vote. That's as easy as it gets. So if you're on Spotify, you're on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, head over to our YouTube channel.
But to see, they're gonna have to see. They can't vote because the voting's already happened.
Oh, this is true. Let's
roll in a sub of the year.
All right, let's go sub of the year. Let's wait for Dave to pull this up. Look, the other thing I wanted to say is, you guys. I want you guys when you guys.
No. Wait, hold on. Here he goes. Now this is Josh.
I want you guys.
Hold on. Before he says another word,
it doesn't matter. I
just want you to know, Josh, politics for votes.
John, you want to know why? There's a lot of people that don't like me. So
I love you, brother.
I know, but there's a lot of people that don't like me.
There's a lot of people that don't like me. That's okay.
But
they don't know me.
They'll side with you
lovable.
just to get at me. That's how people are. They will side with you, whether they think that you're right or not. They will side with you to get at me. Okay. This is, you know what I love about this? This is one of those weeks where there's no real fights going on, so you and I can just goof around and mess around. I love the freedom of this type of show. We do our live shows, and our live shows are like this. Is that we don't really have a direction. So normally when we do our regular shows, okay, look, let's stay on track. We want to get it, in this time frame and this type of thing. We got to talk about this fight. This time of year right now, there's no fights to talk about. I know we got Rising coming up this weekend on New Year's Eve. We got some fights coming up, but it's like
Juan Archuletta's on that card, right?
Yes, he is. So is Horiguchi.
God bless Juan. That's right. Horiguchi's also on that card.
Horiguchi's the main event, and Juan is the co-main.
Isn't Juan going up against Asakura?
What's the guy? Is it Asakura? Yeah, it is Asakura. But it's what's the guy's Habikubo?
No.
I think that's who he's fighting.
Kubo?
I think that's who he's fighting.
He already fought Kubo.
We'll look it up. Let's get through our awards first,
Okay.
buddy. We'll talk.
Yeah.
All
Sorry.
right, let's get.
We're
See, this is why Dave hates us. We get
all
off
of a sudden,
track.
Dave will be
Yeah.
like, "Hey,
God.
stupid, stop." Okay.
All right, and
All right.
submission of the year.
Submission of the year. My submission of the year is based upon who it's against, what
Mhm.
their background is, and how beautifully it was applied. Because when you get into, you get all kinds of different things, and we did have a twister this year, which I'll give. Damone Blackshear had a twister that's a great submission to pull off, but it's how it's done and everything, and the twister is an old submission now and stuff. It's not easy to pull off, but it's been around forever. This submission here, this was Diego Lopez, who we saw first come into the UFC and realized right away, hey, this kid's good. This guy can fight. And then he comes in and he jumps into a triangle armbar finish against Gavin Tucker, who's got a very good ground game, who understands the submission world. And he pulls off a just gorgeously done armbar triangle combination to get the win. And it was just the way he applied it. I go, that was art, and just loved every bit. And this was fast. This was like a minute 40 into the fight. Just loved the way he applied that finish. And so that was my pick for submission of the year. Diego Lopez over Gavin Tucker. Beautifully done in Nashville, Tennessee. Might have been a little homer right there.
No, not you. Not
I
John.
don't live in Nashville.
Look, I think I like the submission, but when I look at submissions, I look at the way that they're put on. I like the style of which they've done it. I like that. This was very tight. Was very
just the whole thing was done.
Yeah, the transition
so well.
was fluidless. It was seamless. I should say it was very nicely done. But I look at also too against the level of opponent.
That's partly why I went with this submission.
Go ahead, explain to me more. Why?
Gavin Tucker can roll, dude.
Yeah, he
he's
can
not
roll.
So he's not somebody that doesn't, when you look at, I'm not saying this was a championship level, fight, but Gavin Tucker's strength is the ground. This guy went out there and put it on him with a move that Gavin Tucker has seen how many times, and just applied it to the point where Tucker was a step behind the entire time trying to stop. And all of a sudden it just wound up where, oh my God, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Just that's why I give it all the credit. It's not like he did this to, a guy that's a pure striker. He did this to a guy that can roll and did it well.
I agree with you. I'll
give you that cough.
But I look at it. I don't want to take anything away from Tucker in terms of the grappling. I'm saying this though, is that there's just not enough experience in a high level cage that Tucker has in the MMA grappling, wrestling, and Diego Lopez is also somebody who I wouldn't say relatively unknown, but like he's
pretty relatively unknown.
He's relatively, people didn't know how good he was.
That's right.
And we're seeing that he is just as good as everyone had said that he was. Like his coaches, he's this guy, he's this guy. We'd heard about him, but I'd never seen him really fight, and then he just exploded on the scene after his first fight. And we realized how good he was. We're like, oh, this guy's good. Now let's see what he can do when he has a full camp. Comes in, boom.
Well, we're seeing it.
We're seeing it. He's fire, man. He's fire. So this is not as impressive to me, only based on the fact that we now know how good he is. But then we didn't know how good he was. But like now we know how good he is. What I liked about Alexa Grasso, she was shoving when she couldn't get the palm to palm. She shoved the hand behind the head and then tucked her chin right over it. And also, this wasn't a clean choke where it was under the chin. It was across the jaw. And it's very rare do you see female fighters look to try to finish that type of choke. And it was more of that jaw lock / choke. She was cutting off the circulation, but more of the crank And to use the physical strength to do that against someone who you and I we've sat on this stage and said that Valentina Shevchenko is probably one of the more stronger fighters. She's one of the more technical fighters in terms of on the feet, on the ground. She is one of the most well-rounded fighters in the world. And for Alexa Grasso to go out there and do that, we've seen someone mature right in front of our eyes. There was so much at stake. She was not even ranked in the top. I think she was number 5 or number 6 at the time. For her to go out there and do that was very impressive to me.
I'm not going to argue with anything you said. The fight was impressive. And that's the difference for me, is the fact that who she did it against makes it special. But what really happened was Valentina made a big mistake, ends up giving her back off of that mistake, and Alexa takes advantage of it. But the submission itself wasn't like, oh my God, well, look at that submission.
Yeah.
It was the ending of the fight itself was, oh my God, look at that ending. Oh my God, she beat her. And so I give it, great fight, great win, great use of, like you said, the ability to make something happen when it's not perfect. But I look at that fight and I look more at Alexa Grasso believing, being behind, and finding a way to win. All the credit in the world. The submission itself,
Got it.
Everyone has talked about that as it's like, the submission itself is okay.
Yeah.
It got the win, and that's the most important part. It got the win. And who it was against, that's even more impressive, because we've seen that, too many women have gone in there and come out second best against Valentina. So big win. I can't say anything bad about the submission, but it was a rear naked choke. Okay.
Yeah. I just looked at it. For me, it was more about the fact that it's very rare do you see female fighters try to go for the jaw lock or the neck crank or whatever it is.
Because it's a strength.
It's a strength. And you could see, if you go back and watch, as soon as she gets the hand behind the head, you could see her squeeze and pull her closer and tighter and then start to hip in a little bit. And I thought, wow, very beautifully executed. I thought I've seen this before. And it just, normally it's by men. It's not by females. And they don't try to muscle their way through things. She put the squeeze on her and I'm like, oh, Valentina's a stronger fighter. No. In this position, she was able to do something that I hadn't seen female fighters utilize to their advantage before. That's why I kind of gave it. And plus the pressure of being, like you said, down, the person you're doing it against, title fight. You're not
the whole, if you look the whole thing, who she's fighting, where they were at, what the scores were at the time, and to get that win, huge.
Yeah. All right, make sure you guys comment down below or vote. Never mind, don't even vote. You guys, we already have it up. We already have it up. I'll say vote down below. Keep saying
it's all good.
Well, hey guys, before we get started on this next category, I want you guys to go to onlyfans.com/weighing-in, onlyfans.com/weighing-in. Subscribe to us over there. It is free. I'm going to do a live show this week just to make sure that you guys get a little extra content during this holiday time. Make sure you guys subscribe to us. It's free. Go over there, set up your profile, follow us. We have extra content there at onlyfans.com/weighing-in. I'm going to do this extra show there this week just for you guys to have extra content. Make sure you guys don't miss it.
Breakout of the year, and I'll let you guys get into this one.
All right. You want to go? Oh, you're very nice. You're looking at the same type of thing. I like that.
Yes.
I like that. Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
All right. I see yours now. And look, trust me, he crossed me. I couldn't do it because and then he'd already broken out.
Nah.
and so that if you had fought for a championship, and it was in another, I looked at it and said, I can't do it. But the man that I picked is a guy that, man, he's undefeated at this point in his career. People are finally starting to understand how good Timur Khizriev is. This kid at 145 pounds, look out. He can stand up and throw his hands. He's got beautiful wrestling. He actually did a Corey Colott flip out of a takedown attempt in his last fight. He has the full package. He's tough. He's physically gifted. He's in great condition. This is, in my opinion, Junior Habib. As far as he reminds me of Habib in the fact that he's just got that, I'm breaking you. I'm going to break you. I'm going to break you. He does it in a different fashion because he'll use his stand-up a lot more than Habib. But when it gets to the point where it's like, I just want you to realize the pressure, boom, here comes the takedown. He's so good. And more people need to know who this guy is.
Yeah. I understand where you're going with this. I do. I like him a lot. I think he's obviously I believe he's undefeated still, right? Correct?
Yes,
yeah.
14-0.
Yeah. I have no problems with the pick. I love this kid. He's great. He's gonna be fun.
I have no problem with yours.
Yeah, he's gonna be a fantastic fighter. 145 pounds. He's not big for the weight. Doesn't look like he cuts a lot of weight. He's explosive. He can stand. He can wrestle. He's great in transition. All the things you're looking for if you're a promotion looking for a young prospect. Absolutely amazing. I thought he had a great breakout year. Great performances. Dominant performances. He sometimes will get caught up in the controlling the tempo too much because he's so good. Like people are afraid of him because they see how fast he is. They see how good he is with his boxing and his wrestling, his transitions. So they don't put too much pressure because they don't want to get taken down. They don't put too much pressure because they don't want to get hit with a big shot. So it could end up being some fights where he just controls so much that he doesn't do as much to get them out of there. That's something he can work on. Not a big deal. For me, the breakout fight of the year was Patchy Mix, not only because he won the Bellator Lightweight World Grand Prix, then he went out there and he got the finish.
Hold on.
Or not lightweight. Sorry, bantamweight. The bantamweight. He's tall enough to be in the Lightweight World Grand Prix.
Yes, he is.
But he won the $1 million tournament, and in that short period of time, he turns around and beats Sergio Pettis. And the way he did it, he made it look easy.
Did it decisively.
Yes. Look. We've heard and we've talked about all this for so long. This guy, I think, is the best bantamweight in the world. And I'm not tuning his horn because he's a Bellator guy. I can give you guys arguments back and forth about this fighter being a little bit better than the Bellator guy. This fighter from this being better than the Bellator guys. But I can also go the other way and say, look, there's two guys that I believe that can walk right into the UFC and be champions. And Patchy Mix is one of them. Patchy Mix, Johnny Eblen, styles make matchups, and I believe that Johnny Eblen and Patchy Mix are the two that can walk right in to the UFC and become champions.
Well, I'm not doubting your word at all because I agree with it. I like it. Your pick is phenomenal. I love him. He's one of my favorite fighters out there. And the thing about him is there's only upside when you look at him right now and where he's at and where he's going. And he's only getting better all the time. Every fight, you're seeing a progression of this kid's skill set. He's got the mentality. He's mean. He's got that mean side. And that's part of what makes him so good. Yeah. Is it's a controlled rage. It's not, he doesn't get angry and lose control. He did when he lost his only fight against Juan Archuleta. He lost the ability to understand what he needed to do to get the fight going back in his direction after winning the first 2 rounds. This kid has got everything going for him. And if there's one thing the PFL needs to freaking get going right now, is that 135-pound division. They've got great fighters just from the Bellator roster, but this kid is a star. He is special, and he's going to be special for years to come. This is the guy that is going to help your promotion get to that next level. But so is Kisry.
I've gotta say this in a very nice and not a nice way, but like in a way that like it just so happens that the two fighters that I feel like can walk right into the UFC and become champions, or at least fight for a title right off the bat, would be the 2 weight classes the PFL doesn't have.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
If I am the PFL and I'm making decisions at the top and I'm able to spend some money, or I'm able to talk about what we're doing next, it's adding these 2 weight classes. Yep. You have arguably the 2 best guys in the world in Patchy Mix and Johnny Eblen. And I don't even know if there's a lot of argument there that they're not the best guys. That's the thing. Like, in every other weight class, we're going to get a ton of pushback. Your guy's not even probably in the top 5, but he can compete. But these two guys, I'm not getting a lot of pushback from the media. They just don't say it out loud a whole lot because they don't want to suffer the consequences. But I believe the PFL needs to address this issue sooner rather than later, because this fighter right here, along with Sergio, along with Stotts, along with Danny Sabatello, Magomedov, they are the cream of the crop in the 135-pound division. And Patchy Mix did something that he continuously got overlooked, even in the tournament. Is Horiguchi's going to be too fast, going to have too much power. He dominated that fight. Magomedov, submission, tapped him, sleeping.
Only guy to ever do that.
Yeah. And then that guy before, his most recent losses was the only guy that had beat Peter Yan, before that. So it was like, he's a great fighter, Magomedov. Good on the feet, good on the ground, all of these things.
Yep.
Then he goes out, and then he knocks out Rafian Stotts, who beat Danny Sabatello, who gets him to the finals. Good on the feet, good takedown defense, all those things. Then he comes out and he beats Sergio Pettis. He made it, and the way he did the Stotts and the Sergio Pettis finishes and the Magomedov, all of that was just confidence. I just know I'm so much better than you guys here, and here, and was able to do it. It was a breakout year. And I look at
that submission that he had against Sergio Pettis. I actually thought about, does that deserve submission of the year? Because it was a rear naked choke, but it was the way it was applied. Yeah. It was the way it was set up. And that's what I always look at. How did you set that up? And you look at the controlling, the taking away of the arm, everything that he did. And you look and you go, you're just fucking steps ahead. And that's why he's as good as he is. And so I'm not sure if he could have been a breakout the year before, but he definitely is one of the fighters everyone needs to watch.
Well, that submission, the way he set it up, that's been going on since BJ Penn years and years ago. And his style and the way he grapples.
But
and his
how
length,
often do you see guys do it?
Not very often. They've all gotten away from it. It's almost like the submissions that are active, the Anaconda, the Darce, all those, and then like all of a sudden everyone catches on to them, so then they stop doing them for a bit, and you got to bring them back. Well, his body style allows him, and his dexterity and all that stuff allows him to utilize that technique. Trapping the arm, covering the mouth. BJ used to cover the mouth. The very first time I ever grappled with BJ Penn, that's the submission he caught me in.
Okay, I'll give you. I brought BJ out to my school to do a seminar and stuff, and one of my instructors, great grappler, he was on the USA World team for grappling, and BJ kept putting the smother over him, taking his back, smother. Yeah. Now, and finally, would you stop doing that? Right? And it's like, and BJ's like, no, it works. No, and it does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it frustrates you so much. You really start to have problems.
Very first time I ever grappled, I was like, yeah, there's no way this guy's.
BJ used to do it all the time. I was just watching. I'm looking, going, look at what BJ's doing. Yeah, son of a bitch.
All right, next category.
All right, let's get into male fighter of the year. Here are your picks.
You can't.
Yes, I can.
Can't do that. Yes, my God. Okay, you explain it then. Go ahead.
Let me explain to you. Let me explain to you. I picked Francis Ngannou for one reason.
Okay.
He's trying to change. He's trying to change the sport.
Okay.
And the courage in which he took for him to leave where he knew he could make a lot of money and to go out and take a venture that would help change the sport. I can't knock him, man. I got to give him credit. This guy did something that a lot of these fighters, they'll kowtow to the UFC or they'll kowtow to their boxing promoter. They'll bend the knee when they're told to. He didn't do that. And I admire what he did. And I said, and the reason why I also went with this was because I said all it would take was a knockdown, a good fight or a knockdown of Tyson Fury or any boxer that he fought.
You did say he just needs to, if he knocks him down, he changes.
He changes his life. He changes his career. Not just him, but it changes the avenue in which fighters that can go to boxing now, and I wouldn't suggest it. I'm not saying they should, but I'm saying it opens the doors even more. Not just being the old retired fighter that fights Jake Pauls.
Yeah.
It opens the door for current fighters to go and do something like this. Maybe not against somebody like, a Tyson Fury, maybe not someone like a Tank Davis, I'm just saying that it starts opening the door that these boxing promoters start going, hey, there's something here. There's something that we could do if we're able to steal a couple of UFC guys or work with the UFC or work with Bellator or PFL and cross promoting these guys. PFL may have something here. We've got Jake Paul. He's going to do MMA, but we also got some of our guys like Ray Cooper. I'd like to see him put boxing gloves on and get after it in the boxing ring. See him fight another guy with some good boxing. You've got these guys. I'm sorry, but Alexander Shabley, he can box. You put him in a boxing ring, I don't know who we would fight, but I'm saying there's things there. I picked Francis Ngannou as fighter of the male fighter of the year because he's trying to help change the sport. Now, I don't know if it's going to be for the better, but it definitely was something that I think it took a lot of courage to do. He stood on his moral ground and said, hey, I'm not going to let someone tell me what to do. And that's a lot to me. That means a lot. That shows me a lot about your character. And it just says a lot about a person. And so I think for me, he's male fighter of the year.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is you picked a guy that's just a phenomenal human being. Anybody that knows Francis, he's so kind. He's such a nice individual to be around. He's just a sweetheart of a guy. I can't give. I understand all of your stuff, and it is big, but it's not in the cage.
I went a different avenue.
I know you did.
Yeah,
and I kind of like it. I'm not telling you that you're wrong. I kind of like what you said. I like how you put him there, and I think the PFL really has something with Francis that they can make happen, allowing him to box and to be in the PFL's cage. But I look at the guy that I picked is for a multitude of reasons. First off, if you're going to be fighter of the year, in my opinion, you have to fight. Sean Strickland fought 3 times in 2023 with 3 impressive
and
wins.
That's a lot. People don't realize how much that is.
Yeah.
3 is like that threshold of breaking of this is kind of maybe too much, maybe not. It's a lot.
That's right. It is. It is a lot. And so 3 times with 3 big wins in those 3 fights. I don't care what happened in 2022. This is fighter of the year in 2023. The Alex Pereira fight, that was in 2022. Yeah, he got knocked out. It happens. You take a look at what he did, where he came from with those wins, and then taking on and putting on the performance against a guy in Israel Adesanya. How many people gave Sean Strickland a chance? They were all saying, oh, this is a gimme fight for Israel. He doesn't have the wrestling to take Israel down. He can't be in the stand-up with them, all that stuff. Well, Sean Strickland proved them all wrong. He went out there, he did what he does. He put pressure on someone, and he just kept hitting him with shots. I think the first round was a big round when he went against Israel, when he hurt him, because people think just because you're standing on your feet, you're the same guy. You're not. Mm-hmm. You take that many shots, it's going to affect who you are, and it did. Sean put on a beautiful performance. He won the middleweight championship. There's nobody else, Josh, nobody that won as many fights as Sean Strickland in 2023 that's a champion. That's why he is my fighter of the year.
I was going to go Sean, to be honest, but I went a different avenue based on
I like your route.
Yeah. Someone trying to change the sport. But I also agree with you that the way he made that fight with Izzy look, and I sat on this stage and I said, Sean's in for a lot. I don't know if he can handle that. But I also didn't expect him to just be able to walk Izzy down the way he did. I knew he'd be able to stay. He'd do that every once in a while. Well, Izzy would find a rhythm and be able to use his reach and his range and his speed to get in and get out. Sean had the solution, man. Sean had the solution. And when we had Johnny Eblin on, Johnny Eblin described how difficult Sean is to deal with on the feet because he's just right outside of range. And then you end up reaching and then you leave yourself out of position. And that's where Izzy found himself, out of position a lot. And that first round changed the rest of the fight because Izzy knew that he could hurt him. is he knew that he could get hurt. Sorry, he could get hurt by Sean, and that his stand up was something to be fearful of. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm just gonna piece this guy up, and get him out of here. No, Sean had a game plan. He stuck to the game plan. He fought a smart fight. What I loved is in the 5th round, he didn't get away from it. He stayed with it. Don't stick and stay away. No, just keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing what you're doing.
It was winning.
Don't
change.
Don't go into
No.
we're going to go into a prevent defense. No. What has made you successful for this many minutes of this fight? Yeah. Stick with it.
I agree. Overall, I can't argue with this. I was going to actually pick him, but I went a different avenue. And I know that it wasn't what we were looking for in terms of like, oh, he won this fight and this. I'm like, there's sometimes the sport is, or the accomplishments of what someone is trying to do to change the sport is a little bit more. And that's where I went with that, is that he's trying to set a precedence in France, is trying to set a precedence in what could happen, what the fighters could actually have more of piece of the pie if you just stood a little bit stronger on your morals or whatever, and you're able to do a little bit more and not kowtow to the bigger organization. So I like what he did. Sean definitely is there. That's I was going to pick Sean, but I figured everyone else does.
Did everyone? He didn't get Fighter of the Year, did he?
I think he did.
Who got Fighter of the Year in the
MMA
World
Junkie.
Awards?
MMA Junkie did. Sean Strickland. I know that was because Sean Strickland posted something about it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. So who did the MMA World Awards get? Who was Fighter of the Year?
Hold on.
Do we get that? Because I honestly don't.
Because I saw Sean Strickland post something on his Instagram about he won some award. It was either Breakout Fighter of the Year or Male Fighter of the Year.
You guys won't see it on here because I have it frozen for a reason.
Okay.
All right. The World MMA Awards. Did they choose yet? The awards?
Yeah, they did.
Did they choose? Okay.
Yeah. I'm guessing someone like Leon Edwards or something.
2023. It doesn't look like the World MMA Awards have done 2023 yet. I'm on the thing, and it says 22 is Valentina.
Yeah, I didn't see the MMA awards up online or a couple days ago. I didn't see the results.
I thought they just had, because I was invited to it.
I haven't seen the results.
Had their
December 4th.
I haven't seen their results either. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know I do the nominations, and I know it was done.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh wait, sorry. The Charles Mask Lewis Fighter of the Year is Leon Edwards. Female is Alexa Grasso. Breakthrough is Alex Pereira, and international fighter is Leon Edwards. Is that all they do?
Yeah. Well, they do
Fight of the Year.
No. They do ring.
They do Fight of the Year. Is Islam
ring card? Journalist.
We're gonna add ring card of the year for sure next year. I'm adding that.
There you go. I like that one.
Their knockout was Leon. Their submission was Alexa Grasso. Their comeback was Leon.
Whoa. Their knockout was Leon?
No, that's from 2022. That's
2022.
22-23. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to read this then because
there's no way, because
Leon's knockout
against Kamaru was in 22.
Yeah, like
the information is not easily accessible. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Don't worry about it. Let's go.
All right.
On to the next.
Our next and our last here is our female fighter of the year, and here are each of your picks.
Okay. See, you went the easy route.
Yeah.
I figured that. I figured you'd go the easy route.
Well, you're right. I did. I did because of what she did. I gave her the submission also too of the year because
Name them off.
It was it was Alexa Grasso for me. Was the female fighter of the year because of the stage in which she did it. Then on top of it, she had to do it twice. It's hard to beat the same person twice of that caliber, and she did. I don't know.
No, she didn't.
What are you talking about? Oh, sorry, you're right. You're right. But she has she pretty much did. She's still the champ. she pretty much did. She's still the champ.
There was a scorecard that made that happen, but it was a draw.
Yeah, I know. But she's still the champ, is what I mean. Like,
she's still the champ. Yes, I'll give it to her.
Sorry.
But okay, hold on. Leave that up there. push that up just a little bit.
Mhm.
See, and this is where I look at it and I like it. And I did look at it.
Yeah.
But that draw
Yeah.
was what made me say, nope, I'm going to go in a different direction.
This is true.
And the different direction I went was Tatiana Suarez has come back from being incredibly ill, having a terrible disease and fighting through it, getting back to not only being healthy, but now being able to be a professional athlete, and has come back, and she has 2 wins in 2023. Both of them by submission, both of them with the same submission, and has proven that, her last one was against Jessica Andrade, who we both love as far as a fighter. We know how tough she is, strong, physically, capable. And she just made Jessica look timid.
Yeah.
She had Jessica in trouble throughout it. And I look at it, and Tatiana Suarez, very few women fought 2 fights where they got wins in 2023. She got it. She is the person I look as the person that will present the biggest threat to Wei Li. Wei Li only had the 1 fight, so I got to give it to Tatiana Suarez. She's the one putting the pressure on the champ. She's the one that went out there and fought twice, 2 submission wins.
That's what I was going to say.
Ended both.
Yeah.
And that was the big difference. That's why I gave
That's impressive. Not just one win by submission, another draw or another decision. She went out there and got 2 finishes within 2 rounds. That's even more impressive. I agree with you. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. Good call.
Okay.
Good call. I just look at, because we have put, myself specifically, have put Valentina Shevchenko on such a pedestal. And for her to come out and get the submission victory against her in the first fight, and then come out and then fight someone who was fighting with a lot of aggression in that second fight, in Valentina Shevchenko, and having to figure out the riddle of Valentina and how she's going to try to make the changes to fix what I was going to do against Alexa Grasso. And I know it was a draw, but she still retains the title. It's hard to beat that same person twice. And she was losing to her in the first fight. Gets the submission.
Yeah.
Then makes the fight, the second one. Sure, it was a draw, but she wasn't losing it. Like it was a back and forth battle. Whereas
she was losing it again.
Yeah, she was. But I'm saying though, John, is that what I'm saying though is that it wasn't like for me, it's very difficult for a 30-year-old, doesn't matter male or female, but very difficult for a 30-year-old to have to beat somebody with that amount of someone with that type of fight IQ. Valentina Shevchenko's fought experience, all the kickboxing matches, all the experience she had before MMA, like coming in to do what she's done in MMA. I mean,
and the people she's faced.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, look at her losses to. Valentina Shevchenko's losses are to Amanda Nunes twice.
It was Amanda Nunes twice, Liz Carmouche once, and now Alexa Grasso.
Yeah, so.
Not bad.
No, not bad at all. Not bad at all. That's
look.
You're looking at the wrong person, Dave.
If I was gonna look and say, the one thing, and I'd looked at Alexa, and the only reason I didn't give it to Alexa is because it was a draw. She didn't win.
Yeah.
But she is fighting as the champ, and she was fighting another person that was a long-standing champ, and so I can totally agree with, your pick and understand why you picked it. I just went with the one that was going out and finishing fights and has put herself in a position, man, she's ready. I know she's got her fight against Amanda Lemos coming up, but Wei Li Zhang should be next if she gets past Lemos.
I agree. I think Wei Li's going to end up going up to 125 and fight.
125?
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I did want to give one honorable mention, and it was in KO of the year. And the reason why I want to give this honorable mention is because and I know you do too, that's why I'm going to bring it up, is I love this guy. He's a fucking amazing, amazing fighter. He's been part of the major organizations for 20-something years, is Robbie Lawler. And so the way he went out, he finished his career. Brother, I got nothing but love and respect for him, but I would give him the honorable mention on knockout of the year.
38 seconds, wasn't it? 38?
Against Nico Price.
Yep.
So much pressure to get that win, to finish on a high note. Not many fighters are able to leave on a win. That's a win. Now also to go out and to win by KO in your last fight. I mean,
what you were known for.
Yeah, what you're known for. The way and just there's a lot of pressure. I think him going into it. He had already announced that he was going to retire. I think beforehand, and they had a walkout. They had all of his. Did a big video thing for him, and they just understood. We all knew it was the last fight. There's so much emotions that go along with that, and he went out there and delivered. He did what he had to do. He got it done, got the fight. Great job.
Let's look at, you bring up Robbie. I want to say something about him. I knew Robbie since he was 18. He's 40 some years old now. God damn.
Yeah.
But, in knowing Robbie and his personality and everything that he brought to the sport, because, Robbie, people don't realize, started out, he was very young when he was first in the UFC, fighting guys like Aaron Riley and then Steve Berger, people, most people don't know. Tiki Goshen. And then, left, had a little bit of a downturn, lost to Pete Spratt, and then goes and, he ends up fighting in a couple of different fights in Pride.
Yeah.
He fights in Elite XC. Elite XC is bought out by Strikeforce. Strikeforce then becomes his home. Then he goes back to the UFC finally when the UFC buys Strikeforce, and he becomes the champ.
Yeah.
And the maturity that he had, because the one thing about Robbie Lawler is, Robbie Lawler will never be Colby Covington. Okay, because Robbie Lawler didn't speak.
Not even fucking close.
But he always had class.
Yep.
He always had class. And I'm gonna say this was the fight that people, if you want to see who Robbie Lawler is as a person, go back to his fight against Ben Askren.
Yes.
Go back and watch him beat Ben Askren like a fucking rag doll throughout most of that fight. He gets caught at the end in a position, but he's not out. Herb makes a mistake and stops the fight. And Herb knew he made the mistake. What later on was said, I don't give a shit. Herb knew he made the mistake, and he looked at him. And Robbie looked at him and said, first thing, I was fine. And then moments later says, hey, man. He looks at Herb and says, hey, man, I just want you to know you're a great referee.
Yeah.
You know what? It's okay. And he is trying to make Herb feel better when he has now lost. He's lost, to a guy that probably he shouldn't have lost to in that moment. He is losing money, all these things. Robbie Lawler turns to him, hey, man, you're a great referee. It's okay. What a fucking guy.
Yeah, because Robbie's natural reaction was to jump up pissed off and even kind of shove the arms off a little bit and walked away. And then he thought for a second, what are you doing? That's not him. He knows that's not me. He's probably telling himself, that's not you. It's a fight. It's at the end. Like I've said this, I don't know how many times. In 5-10 years, none of this shit's going to matter.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not going to look back and be like, now if you'd have raised a stink and pushed him and shoved him and got all that, we'll remember that.
And and in the end, everyone would go, well, he screwed him up. Yeah, he made a mistake. Yep. He's human. And God damn it, Robbie Lawler was beautiful in that moment.
He's a great person. One of the first times I remember Robbie was I saw a little video clip of the UFC trying to drag shit out of him about his family. Did you see this?
No, I did not. They didn't get far.
They didn't get far at all. He's like, hey, he's like, we're not doing this shit. I'm not talking about my family. He's like, we're talking about the fight. I'm not doing this.
Yep, there you go.
And they went at it again, and he just stood up and walked off. I have nothing to say. We're not talking about my family. Doesn't matter.
He doesn't.
And I love it. Yeah. I love it. Yep. I mean, even just chatting with him, the last couple of times we hung out with him, I hung out with him in Sioux Falls. Saw him after that, but I mean, Sioux Falls, I hung out with him. It's just fun to see him just so relaxed, Every time you see him, he's so quiet, he's timid. He's just a great guy, though. Such a great human being. So if you guys ever get a chance to meet him, don't be afraid. Walk up to him. He's so nice. A little quiet. Don't think that he's being rude. That's not him. He's quiet. He's just quiet. Good guy, but he fights like a fucking freight train truck when he gets going. But I had to give honorable mention because, like I said, so much at stake. He knew it was his last fight. He made it known. The walkout, all that stuff. There's a lot of emotion to go involved with it, and I wanted to give him some love. So great career, and we wrap up on our weighing in MMA awards for 2023.